I came home from work on a Friday evening to find my parents' car in my driveway. I walked into my house, the house I bought 3 months ago with my own money without telling my family, to discover my mother in the kitchen, unpacking groceries, my father measuring the master bedroom, and my sister Rachel with her husband Tyler and their 3 kids, sprawled across the living room furniture. Rachel looked up casually and said, "Oh, good. You're finally home. Mom and Dad told us you'd be letting us move in next month. The kids already picked their rooms." My heart stopped. I stood there in the doorway of my own home, briefcase still in hand, staring at the scene in front of me like I'd walked into someone else's life. "What are you talking about?" I finally managed to get out. Rachel gestured around like it was obvious. "The house. Mom and Dad said you bought this place for us, that you were going to let us live here since our lease is up in 6 weeks. I turned to my mother, who was pulling out a casserole dish from one of my cabinets like she owned the place. "Mom, what is she talking about?" My mother looked at me with this confused expression, like I was the one being unreasonable. "Sweetheart, we discussed this months ago when you mentioned looking at houses. Remember? You said you were thinking about buying something bigger." "I said I was looking," I said, my voice rising. "I never said I bought anything, and I definitely never said Rachel could live here." My father walked out of the bedroom holding a tape measure. "Justine, don't be dramatic. We all agreed the family needed help. This is the plan we all discussed." "We never discussed any plan." I could feel my face getting hot. "I deliberately didn't tell you I bought a house because I knew you'd do exactly this. Try to take it over." Rachel's face crumpled. "Take it over? Justine, we have nowhere to go. Tyler lost his job 6 months ago. Our apartment lease ends in October. We have 3 kids. Mom and Dad promised us we could stay here." "With what authority?" I demanded. "This is my house. I bought it with my own money. 5 years of working 2 jobs, saving every penny, doing without so I could afford a down payment. This is mine. How could you be so selfish?" Rachel's voice was shaking now. "We have children, Justine. 3 little kids who need a stable home. And you have all this space just for yourself?" I looked around at my modest 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house. It wasn't a mansion. It was a starter home in a decent neighborhood that I could barely afford. "How did you even get in here?" My mother reached into her purse and pulled out a key. "My key. We had a copy made, honey. That first week you moved in, remember? You came for Sunday dinner and left your purse on the counter. We just borrowed your spare key for a few minutes." The violation hit me like a physical blow. "You stole my key and made copies?" "Don't be so dramatic," my father said. "We're family. Family doesn't steal from each other. We just wanted to be able to help you with things. Water your plants when you're away, that sort of thing. I never asked you to do that. I never gave you permission." I held out my hand. "Give me that key right now." My mother clutched it to her chest. "Justine, let's all calm down and talk about this rationally. There's nothing to talk about. This is my house. You all need to leave. Now." Rachel started crying harder. Her 3 kids, who'd been watching cartoons on my television, started looking scared. The youngest, only 4 years old, began to cry too. "Look what you're doing," my mother said accusingly. "You're upsetting the children." "I'm upsetting them?" My voice cracked. "You broke into my house. You lied to Rachel. And you're trying to guilt me into giving up everything I worked for. How is any of this my fault?" Tyler, Rachel's husband, spoke up for the first time. He'd been sitting there silently, but now he stood up, all 6 feet 2 inches of him trying to look intimidating. "Your sister needs help, Justine. Family helps family. Or, did all that college education make you forget where you come from?" "I didn't forget anything," I said, fighting to keep my voice steady. "I remember working my way through college while Rachel dropped out after 1 semester. I remember working 2 jobs while everyone else in this family told me I was wasting my time being ambitious. I remember saving every dollar while being told I was selfish for not lending money I couldn't afford to lend. I remember all of it." "This is exactly what I'm talking about," my father said, his face reddening. You've always thought you were better than the rest of us. Too good for this family. That's not true, and you know it. Tears were starting to blur my vision. I just wanted something of my own. Something I earned. Why is that so wrong? Because family comes first, my mother said firmly. Always. That's how we were raised. That's how I raised you. Rachel needs help. You have the means to help her. It's simple. It's not simple. This is my home. Rachel grabbed my arm. Please, Justine. Please. We're desperate. If we can't find something affordable, if we end up in some terrible neighborhood or worse, if we end up homeless, it'll be because you had the power to help and refused. Can you live with that? I pulled my arm away. That's not fair. Your housing situation is not my responsibility. You and Tyler need to figure that out yourselves. We've tried, Rachel wailed. Everything in our price range is in terrible areas or too small. And with Tyler's job situation, landlords won't rent to us. Mom and Dad were going to co-sign for us. But then they said you had this place, and it made more sense for us to stay here. Something clicked. Wait, Mom and Dad were going to co-sign? My mother looked uncomfortable for the first time. Well, yes, but that was before we knew you had this house. So you were willing to risk your credit for Rachel, but now you want to make it my problem instead. It's not a problem, my father said. It's family. And yes, frankly, it makes more sense for Rachel's family to stay here than for us to put our retirement at risk co-signing for an apartment they might not be able to afford. There it was, the real reason. They wanted to protect themselves financially, so they decided to volunteer my house instead. All of you need to leave, I said, my voice cold now. Right now. Get out of my house. Justine, my mother started. Get out. Rachel gathered her kids, sobbing dramatically. My mother gave me a look of pure disappointment. My father shook his head like I was the biggest failure he'd ever seen. As they headed toward the door, I held out my hand again. The key, Mom. My mother looked at the key in her hand, then at me, then back at the key. No, she said quietly. I don't think so. We'll be back tomorrow to talk sense into you. Maybe by then you'll have calmed down and remembered what family means. She walked out before I could respond, taking my key with her. After they left, I stood in my living room, shaking so hard I had to sit down. I pulled out my phone with trembling hands and searched for 24-hour locksmiths. I found one that could come first thing in the morning. I booked the appointment. Then I sat in my house, my beautiful house that I'd worked so hard for, and cried. Saturday morning arrived with clouds that matched my mood. The locksmith showed up at 9, a friendly guy named Harold who whistled while he worked. By 11, all 3 exterior doors had brand new locks, and I had a complete set of shiny new keys. No copies this time, except the one spare I'd hide somewhere my family would never find it. I paid Harold, thanked him profusely, and felt the tension in my shoulders ease for the first time since yesterday. My house was secure again. My sanctuary was protected. I made myself lunch, trying to focus on the small normalcy of putting together a sandwich, when I heard it, the sound of a key scraping in the front door lock, then silence. Then, the scraping again, more agitated this time, then pounding. Justine, my mother's voice, sharp with indignation. Justine, open this door right now. I walked to the door but kept it closed. Go away, Mom. What did you do to the locks? I changed them. This is my house. You can't just lock us out. We need to talk about this. There's nothing to talk about. I told you yesterday. This is my house, and Rachel is not moving in. Now please leave. There was silence for a moment. Then I heard my father's voice, but he wasn't talking to me. He was talking to someone else. Yes, that's right. We need you to unlock this door. It's a family emergency. My blood went cold. I rushed to the front window and peeked through the curtain. There was a white van parked behind my parents' car. On the side it said Bob's Locksmith Service. My parents had brought a locksmith. They were trying to break into my house. I grabbed my phone and dialed 911 with shaking fingers. 911. What's your emergency? My parents are trying to break into my house. They brought a locksmith to unlock my door without my permission. The dispatcher took my information and said officers were on their way. Then I unlocked the door and stepped outside before this locksmith could start drilling into my brand new locks. The locksmith, a heavy-set man in his 50s, was standing there with his tools. My parents stood behind him, my mother with her arms crossed, my father with that self-righteous expression I'd seen 1,000 times growing up. "Stop," I said to the locksmith. "I'm the homeowner. I did not call you. I do not give you permission to unlock this door." The locksmith looked between me and my parents, clearly uncomfortable. Ma'am said this was an emergency, that her daughter locked her out. I am the daughter. This is my house. These people do not live here. I changed my locks this morning because they stole my key and made copies without permission. They have no right to be here, and no right to enter my home. My father stepped forward. "Don't listen to her. She's having some kind of breakdown. We're her parents and we're concerned. We just need to get inside to talk to her." "I've called the police," I said clearly. "They're on their way. I suggest you leave before they arrive." The locksmith held up his hands and started backing toward his van. "Look, I don't get paid enough to get involved in family drama. You folks sort this out yourselves." "Wait," my mother called after him. "We'll pay you extra." But he was already in his van, pulling away from the curb. My parents turned on me with matching expressions of fury. "How dare you?" my father hissed. "How dare you treat us like criminals?" "You are criminals," I shot back. "You committed trespassing yesterday. You stole my key. You just tried to break into my house. What would you call that?" "We're your parents," my mother said, her voice breaking. "After everything we've done for you, all the sacrifices we made, this is how you repay us? By locking us out and calling the police on us like we're strangers? You're acting like strangers. Strangers who don't respect boundaries or property rights. This is about your sister," my father said. "This is about you being too selfish to help family when they need it. Rachel is a grown woman with a husband. Her housing problems are not my responsibility." My mother's eyes narrowed. "You know what I did yesterday after we left here?" I called everyone. Aunt Patricia, Aunt Linda, Uncle George, the Hendersons from church, the Martinezes next door to our house, everyone in our book club. I told them all about how generous you're being, letting Rachel and her family stay in your big new house while they get back on their feet. My stomach dropped. "You what? Everyone thinks you're wonderful," my mother continued, a cruel smile playing at her lips. "So thoughtful, so family-oriented. What do you think they'll say when they find out the truth? That you're throwing your sister and her 3 babies out on the street? That's not what I'm doing. That's what it'll look like." My father crossed his arms. "And speaking of looking bad, did I mention your mother and I co-signed on Rachel's apartment? When she can't make the last 2 months of rent because Tyler's still looking for work, it's going to destroy our credit. All because you have this big house with extra bedrooms sitting empty, and you're too selfish to share. That was your choice to co-sign. That has nothing to do with me." 2 police cars pulled up to the curb. My parents' expressions shifted instantly, my mother's face crumpling into tears, my father's face rearranging into concern. 2 officers approached. I explained the situation as calmly as I could. My parents owned their own home across town. I had purchased this house 3 months ago with my own money. Yesterday, I discovered they had copied my key without permission and entered my home, bringing my sister and her family with the expectation they would move in. I had changed the locks this morning for my own safety and security. My parents had just attempted to have a locksmith break in. My mother sobbed her version. I was her daughter. We'd had a misunderstanding about family helping family. They were just worried about me. This was all being blown out of proportion. The officers looked tired, like they'd dealt with 100 family disputes just like this one. The older officer addressed my parents directly. "Sir, ma'am, regardless of your relationship, this is her property. She's asked you to leave. You need to leave now, and not come back without her explicit permission. If you attempt to enter her property again without permission, She can pursue trespassing charges. Do you understand? My father started to argue, but the younger officer cut him off. Do you understand, sir? Yes, my father said through gritted teeth. Good. Now, please leave the property. My parents walked to their car. Before getting in, my mother turned back to me. Her tears were gone. Her face was cold. You're going to regret this, Justine. You have no idea what you've just started. They drove away. The officers took my report, gave me a case number, and suggested I document everything going forward. They were kind, but matter of fact. This was just another Saturday afternoon call for them. For me, it was my entire world cracking apart. After they left, I went back inside, locked my new locks, and wondered what my mother meant by that threat. I wouldn't have to wait long to find out. Sunday was quiet, deceptively, dangerously quiet. I should have known it was the calm before the storm. Monday morning, my phone started buzzing before I even got out of bed. Text messages, lots of them. Aunt Patricia, so proud of you for helping Rachel. What a blessing you are to this family. Aunt Linda, your mother told me the wonderful news. When is Rachel moving in? Let me know if you need help with the transition. Uncle George, good for you, kiddo. Family first, always. I stared at the messages in growing horror. Then came the Facebook notifications. My mother had posted on her page about my generosity, thanking God for blessing their family with a daughter kind enough to open her home to her sister in need. 37 comments, all congratulating me, all praising my selflessness. I called my mother immediately. Hello, sweetheart, she answered, her voice sugary sweet. Take down that post right now. What post, honey? You know what post. The one where you tell everyone I'm letting Rachel move in. It's not true, and you know it. But everyone's so happy for Rachel. It would be cruel to disappoint them now. Unless, of course, you've changed your mind? I haven't changed my mind. Take it down. I don't think I will. Have a lovely day at work, dear. She hung up. I spent my lunch break crafting a response on Facebook, trying to politely correct the record. I explained there had been a misunderstanding, that I had not agreed to house Rachel's family, and that I hoped everyone would respect my privacy during this difficult family time. The responses were immediate and brutal. Cousin Jennifer, wow, backing out of a promise? That's low even for you. Someone from my parents' church. Those poor babies. How can you be so heartless? An old neighbor I barely remembered. I always knew you thought you were too good for this family. Every clarification I tried to make was met with more judgment. My mother had told her story first, and told it well. I was cast as the villain, and nothing I said could change the narrative. Tuesday brought more messages, some supportive, asking if I was okay, but many accusatory. My grandmother called me in tears. Justine, baby, please reconsider. Rachel's babies need you. Grandma, they're not babies. They're 7, 5, and 4. And they need their parents to provide for them, not me. But you have the space. And family helps family. I am helping. I've helped Rachel before. I paid for her car repairs last year. I bought school supplies for the kids. I've given her money more times than I can count. But giving her my entire house is too much. It's not giving, honey. Just letting them stay for a while. A while turns into forever with Rachel. You know that. My grandmother sighed heavily. I'm so disappointed in you. Those words stung worse than any of the comments from strangers. Wednesday, Rachel showed up at my workplace. I work as a financial analyst for a mid-sized firm downtown. I was in a meeting when our receptionist called my extension. Justine, there's a woman here with children asking for you. She says it's urgent. I excused myself from the meeting and went to the lobby. Rachel was there with all 3 kids. Her eyes were red and puffy. The kids looked tired and confused. Rachel, what are you doing here? I need to talk to you. You won't answer my calls. I'm at work. This isn't appropriate. Please. Her voice rose, carrying across the lobby. Other people in the waiting area were watching now. Please, Justine, we're desperate. The kids need stability. How can you abandon your own family? The kids started crying. Whether they were genuinely upset or Rachel had coached them, I couldn't tell, but it was working. People were staring at me like I was a monster. Rachel, you need to leave. Not until you agree to help us. She was practically wailing now. My own sister is letting my babies go homeless. What kind of person does that? My boss, Margaret, appeared in the lobby. Is everything all right here? I'm so sorry, Margaret. This is my sister. She's leaving now. I'm not leaving until she does the right thing, Rachel sobbed. Margaret's expression was impossible to read. Miss, I'm going to have to ask you to leave the premises. This is a place of business. Rachel gave me one more pleading look, then gathered her children and left, making sure everyone saw her tears, saw the children's tears, saw what a heartless sister I was. Margaret walked me back to my office. Justine, I understand family situations can be complicated, but we cannot have personal drama disrupting the workplace. Please handle this on your own time. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. It won't happen again. But I could see it in her eyes. Professional doubt. A question about my judgment. That evening, I walked out to my car to find all 4 tires slashed. Completely flat. All of them. The parking lot security footage would show nothing useful, the police would later tell me. But I knew. In my gut, I knew. Friday, a certified letter arrived. I signed for it with shaking hands and opened it at my kitchen table. It was from a law firm I'd never heard of, representing my parents. The letter claimed that 8 months ago, at a Sunday family dinner, I had verbally agreed to purchase a house large enough to accommodate Rachel's family and to allow them to live there rent-free for as long as they needed. The letter stated that my parents had relied on this promise in their financial planning, that Rachel had made decisions based on this agreement, and that I was now in breach of this oral contract. They were demanding I honor the agreement, or face legal action. I read it 3 times, my hands shaking harder each time. This was insane. Oral contracts for real estate weren't enforceable in my state, and I had never, ever made any such agreement. The dinner 8 months ago they referenced? I'd mentioned I was thinking about buying a house someday. That was it. A passing comment about a future possibility. But the letter was real. The legal threat was real. Even if their claim was baseless, defending against it would cost money I didn't have. I called a lawyer first thing Monday morning. Sarah Montgomery came highly recommended by a colleague. She reviewed the letter over the phone. This is nonsense, Sarah said bluntly. Oral contracts for real estate must be in writing in this state under the statute of frauds. And even if it didn't, you'd need to prove an actual meeting of the minds. Consideration. All the elements of a contract. This is pure intimidation. So, I don't have to worry? I didn't say that. They can still file a lawsuit, a frivolous one, but you'd have to respond. That means legal fees, time, stress. It's a common tactic in family disputes. Make the process painful enough that you give in just to make it stop. What should I do? Document everything. Save every text, every email, every voicemail. Keep a journal of every interaction. And let me send them a response, making it clear you won't be intimidated. I hired her on the spot. It cost $1,000 retainer I couldn't really afford. But what choice did I have? That weekend, I discovered my parents had been busy on social media, neighborhood groups, community pages, local parenting forums. They'd posted their side of the story everywhere. Their cruel daughter, who they'd sacrificed everything to raise, who they'd put through college, was now refusing to help her struggling sister. Some posts included pictures of Rachel's kids. The comments were vicious. My doorbell camera caught someone egging my house on Saturday night. My neighborhood Facebook page had a post Sunday morning calling me a disgrace to the community. Someone I'd never met, who'd clearly heard my parents' version of events, had taken it upon themselves to publicly shame me. I spent Sunday cleaning egg off my siding and crying on my bathroom floor. This was my life now, my reputation destroyed, my family at war with me, my home under siege, and it was about to get so much worse. Sarah sent the cease and desist letter on Monday. It was professional, firm, and clear. My parents and Rachel were to stop harassing me, stop spreading false information about me, and stop trespassing on my property. Any further contact was to go through Sarah's office only. I thought maybe, finally, this would end it. I was so naive. Thursday afternoon, Sarah called me at work. "Justine, I need to talk to you about something. Your parents filed a lawsuit this morning." My heart stopped. For the oral contract thing? No. Their lawyer must have told them that wouldn't fly. This is worse. They're claiming financial elder abuse. What? They're not even elderly. They're 62 and 59. In this state, elder abuse statutes apply to anyone over 60. They're alleging that you manipulated them into believing you would provide housing for your sister, causing them financial and emotional distress. They're claiming they made financial decisions based on your promises and are now suffering damages. That's completely false. I know. But now we have to respond, file an answer, possibly go through discovery. This is going to cost money and time. I'm so sorry. I sat at my desk after the call ended, staring at nothing. They'd actually done it. They'd actually sued me. That evening, I saw that Rachel had posted on Facebook again. Not on my parents' pages this time. On her own page, which had much wider reach, she'd created a GoFundMe. The title was, "Help My Children Stay Off the Streets." The description painted me as a wealthy, heartless sister who'd promised to help them, and then cruelly backed out. It included photos of her adorable kids, descriptions of their struggles, and a plea for funds since family had abandoned them. She was asking for $15,000. Within 24 hours, the post had been shared over 300 times. Local community groups picked it up. A local mom blogger with a large following shared it with a tearful caption about how sad it was that families didn't take care of each other anymore. The post went viral in our local area. My name was in it, my full name. By Friday, Rachel had raised $4,000. I started getting hateful messages from strangers. Someone left a nasty note on my car. Someone else threw a rock through my living room window at 2 a.m, sending me diving off my couch in terror. The police came, took a report, but said unless I had proof of who did it, there was nothing they could do. At work, Margaret called me into her office. "Justine, we need to talk." My stomach dropped. "Yes?" "We've been receiving phone calls. People asking about you, saying terrible things, asking why we employ someone who would abandon her family. I've had to have our receptionist start screening calls. I'm so sorry. My family is spreading lies about me. I've hired a lawyer. I'm trying to make it stop." Margaret leaned back in her chair. "I want to be understanding. Family situations are difficult, but this is affecting the company. Our clients are hearing about this. It's becoming a distraction." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying you need to resolve this immediately, whatever it takes, or we'll have to discuss whether this position is still the right fit." I left her office feeling like the floor had dropped out from under me. I could lose my job. Without my job, I couldn't afford my mortgage. I couldn't afford my legal fees. Everything I'd worked for would be gone. I called Sarah from my car. "They're destroying my life." "I know, but we're building a case. Document everything. Every message, every post, every threat. We're going to fight back." But fighting back seemed impossible when I was drowning. Then, on Sunday morning, everything got worse in a way I never could have predicted. I was grocery shopping when Rachel called. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "What?" "They came," Rachel sobbed. "Child Protective Services came to our apartment." My blood went cold. "What?" "Someone called them. Someone reported us for the kids living in bad conditions. They inspected everything. They said the apartment is too small. It's not safe. There's mold in the bathroom. They said we have 30 days to find better housing, or they'll take another look at the situation." "Rachel, I didn't call them. I would never. It had to be you. Who else would do this?" But even as she said it, I knew who'd done it. My parents. They'd orchestrated this themselves. They'd called CPS on their own daughter, knowing the apartment really was substandard, knowing it would make Rachel even more desperate, knowing it would make me look even worse. It wasn't me, I said quietly. It doesn't matter. Don't you see? Now my kids might be taken away, and it's because you wouldn't help us. If you'd just let us move into your house like you were supposed to, none of this would have happened. She hung up. By Sunday evening, Rachel had updated her GoFundMe. CPS threatens to take my children because my sister refuses to let us live in her empty house. The post exploded. The GoFundMe total climbed to $7,000. The comments were horrific. I hope karma gets her. Someone should burn her house down if she won't share it. What a disgusting human being. Someone posted my address in the comments. Facebook removed it, but not before dozens of people had seen it. Monday morning, I woke up to find child hater spray painted across my garage door in huge red letters. I called the police. I called Sarah. I called in sick to work because I couldn't stop crying. Sarah's voice was gentle but firm. Justine, listen to me. We're going to fight this, but you need to hold on. Can you do that? I don't know anymore. This is what they want. They want you to break. Don't give them that satisfaction. But I was already broken. I just didn't know if I could put myself back together. I took 3 days off work. Margaret wasn't happy about it, but I didn't care anymore. I couldn't function. I barely ate. I barely slept. I spent hours sitting on my couch, staring at the spray-painted garage door I couldn't afford to fix, wondering how my life had become this nightmare. On the third day, something shifted inside me. Maybe I hit bottom. Maybe I just ran out of tears. But I got angry. Really, truly angry. I called Sarah. I want to fight back. Good. Tell me what you're thinking. I want to know everything. Everything they've done. Every lie they've told. Every law they've broken. I want documentation of all of it. Okay, let's start digging. First, I pulled my credit report. I'd been meaning to do it anyway since applying for the mortgage, but I hadn't looked at it in months. I expected it to be fine. It wasn't. There were credit card applications in my name I'd never made. 3 different cards, all opened within the last year. One had a balance of $4,000. Another had $3,000. The third was maxed out at $5,000. $12,000 in debt I didn't owe. I called Sarah immediately, my hands shaking so hard I could barely hold the phone. That's identity theft, Sarah said grimly. You need to file a police report right now. Today. You think Rachel did this? Who else has access to your personal information? Your social security number, your mother's maiden name, your date of birth? Family members are the most common identity theft perpetrators. I filed the police report that afternoon. The officer who took the report was sympathetic but honest. These cases are hard to prove, especially within families. But with the credit card companies, you have a good chance of getting the charges removed if you press charges. I want to press charges, even if it's your sister, especially if it's my sister. Next, Sarah suggested I hire a private investigator. If we're going to countersuit, we need evidence. Real, documented evidence of harassment, defamation, and anything else we can find. The PI, a former police detective named Marcus Chen, was thorough. Within a week, he came back with information that made my jaw drop. Tyler wasn't unemployed. He was working construction under the table for a company that paid cash. He'd been doing it for months. And the reason he was working under the table? He owed nearly $30,000 in back child support from a previous marriage. He had a 10-year-old son in another state he'd been dodging payments on for 3 years. Rachel had been lying about their financial situation. They weren't destitute. They were hiding income to avoid Tyler's obligations. Marcus had also documented every instance of harassment. Photos of the spray paint. Screenshots of the social media posts before they were deleted. Witness statements from neighbors who'd seen people coming to my house at odd hours. Ring camera footage I'd collected showing Rachel and my parents at my door multiple times after being told to stay away. It was a mountain of evidence. Sarah filed a countersuit. Harassment, defamation, conspiracy. And we forwarded the identity theft evidence to the district attorney's office. 2 days later, Rachel showed up at my house. I'd installed a Ring doorbell and 2 additional cameras after the garage incident. I saw her coming and didn't open the door. She pounded on it anyway, screaming, "You called the police on me? You're actually trying to send me to jail? Go away, Rachel. I'm your sister. You're going to destroy our whole family over money? You stole my identity. You committed fraud. Those are crimes." I was desperate. We needed money. The kids needed things. You and Tyler have been lying about being broke. I know about his under-the-table work. I know about the child support he's dodging. Silence. Then, you had us investigated? Yes. And I have evidence of everything. Every lie you've told, every time you've harassed me, every defamatory post you've made. All of it. You're insane. You've completely lost your mind. No. For the first time in my life, I'm thinking clearly. I'm not the villain here, Rachel. You are. She left, but not before kicking my door hard enough to leave a scuff mark. All caught on camera. That evening, my parents called. I answered on speaker with Sarah listening in. My mother was crying. "Justine, please. Rachel says you're pressing charges. You can't do this. She'll go to jail. The kids will go into foster care." She should have thought about that before committing identity theft. She was desperate, my father said. We all were. This is your fault for refusing to help. None of this is my fault. You created this situation by lying and manipulating and stealing. Now there are consequences. Drop the charges, my mother begged. Please, we'll drop our lawsuit. We'll leave you alone. Just don't send Rachel to jail. It's not up to me anymore. The DA has the case. That was partially true. While I could decline to cooperate, the identity theft was still prosecutable. Then don't cooperate with them, my father demanded. Tell them you don't want to press charges. Why would I do that? So you can all keep destroying my life? We'll stop, my mother said quickly. I swear we'll stop. Just please, think of the children. I am thinking of them. They need to learn that actions have consequences. Maybe this will teach them something their parents clearly haven't. I hung up. Sarah was quiet for a moment. You know they're going to get worse before they get better. I know. Are you ready for that? I thought about everything I'd lost already. My family relationships, my reputation, my peace of mind, thousands of dollars in legal fees and repairs. But I also thought about my house, still mine. My integrity, still intact. My self-respect, slowly returning. Yes, I said. I'm ready. The next morning, a local news station called me. A young investigative journalist named Amanda Price had been following Rachel's viral GoFundMe story. Something about it didn't sit right with her, so she'd started digging. She'd found inconsistencies. She wanted to interview me for a follow-up piece. I was terrified. More publicity could make things worse. But Sarah thought it might be the only way to salvage my reputation. Tell your truth, Sarah advised. With documentation, let people see the whole picture. Before I could decide, my boss called me into her office. Justine, I'm sorry, but we're putting you on administrative leave. The words hit like a punch to the gut. What? It's effective immediately. We've received too many complaints, too many calls. This situation has become too much of a distraction. We need time to investigate whether you can continue in your position here. Investigate what? I haven't done anything wrong at work. That may be true, but the optics are bad. And until this is resolved, we think it's best if you take some time away. Administrative leave, unpaid. I walked out of that office knowing I was one step away from being fired. Without my income, I couldn't afford my mortgage, couldn't afford my legal fees, couldn't afford anything. Everything was falling apart, even as I tried to fight back. I called Amanda Price that afternoon. "I'll do the interview," I said. "When can we meet?" The first 2 weeks of administrative leave were the worst of my life. No paycheck. Savings draining fast between the mortgage, utilities, and mounting legal bills. Every day I wondered if I'd lose everything. Sarah kept me updated on the countersuit. She was confident, but confidence doesn't pay bills. The identity theft case was moving forward slowly. Rachel had been contacted by detectives. She'd lawyered up immediately. My parents had dropped their lawsuit against me, but the damage was done. I'd spent thousands defending against their bogus claims. The extended family had split into camps. A few cousins reached out privately to say they believed me, but most had chosen my parents' side. My grandmother wouldn't speak to me. An aunt sent me a letter calling me a disgrace to the family name. It never felt more alone. The interview with Amanda was scheduled for a Thursday afternoon. She came to my house with a camera operator. Young, maybe 28, with kind eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. "Tell me everything," she said, "from the beginning." So I did. All of it. Finding them in my house that first day. The copied key, the legal threats, the GoFundMe lies, the identity theft, the harassment, the spray paint, the social media attacks. Everything. I showed her documentation for all of it. The police reports, the Ring camera footage, the screenshots Sarah had collected, the credit reports showing the fraudulent accounts. Amanda listened, took notes, asked questions. Smart questions that got to the heart of the manipulation. "Why did they think they could do this?" she asked. "Because they always have," I realized as I said it. My whole life, my job was to make things easier for Rachel. She was the fun one, the social one, the one everyone loved. I was serious, ambitious, boring. My parents made it clear that my purpose was to support her. When I finally tried to build something for myself, they couldn't accept it. "And you bought the house without telling them because you knew they'd do this." I knew they'd try to take it over somehow. I just didn't realize how far they'd go. The interview took 2 hours. Amanda promised to be fair but honest. The piece would air in 3 days and publish online simultaneously. That weekend was agony, waiting, wondering, worrying that this would backfire, that somehow Amanda would make me look worse. Sunday evening, Amanda called. "I'm sending you the piece before it airs. I want you to see it first." I watched it on my laptop with my heart pounding. The segment was titled Family Feud or Family Fraud. It was balanced, but damning. Amanda had clearly done her homework. She presented the timeline, showed the evidence, interviewed a legal expert who explained why the oral contract claim was bogus and identity theft was serious. She'd even found Tyler's ex-wife, who went on camera to talk about the unpaid child support. The piece didn't villainize my family, but it didn't need to. The facts spoke for themselves. Rachel Johnson raised over $8,000 on GoFundMe, claiming her sister abandoned her family, Amanda said in voiceover. But public records and police reports tell a different story. One of alleged identity theft, harassment, and a family that perhaps went too far in their demands. It aired Monday evening. Within an hour, it was trending on local social media. The comments on Rachel's GoFundMe, which had stayed positive for weeks, turned sharply negative. "She lied to us. I want my money back. This is fraud." People started demanding refunds. Some threatened to report Rachel to GoFundMe for creating a fraudulent campaign. The neighborhood social media groups that had vilified me suddenly had new discussions. People apologizing. People saying they'd been too quick to judge. People criticizing my parents for their manipulation. By Tuesday morning, my phone was buzzing with messages. Some supportive, some apologetic from people who'd believed my parents' lies. But then, Tuesday afternoon, everything went sideways again. Tyler saw the news piece. He was furious about the child support information being public. He'd kept that hidden from most people in his life. That evening, he showed up at my house drunk and enraged. I saw him on the Ring camera, stumbling up my walkway. I immediately called 911. She destroyed my life, he shouted at my door, pounding on it. That's my business. She had no right. The police are on their way. I called through the door. Leave now. I'll make you pay for this. You think you're so smart? I'll show you. He picked up one of the decorative rocks from my garden bed and threw it at my front window. The glass shattered, raining down inside and outside the house. I ran to my bedroom and locked the door, phone in hand, listening to Tyler rage outside until I heard sirens. Police arrested him for criminal mischief, menacing, and public intoxication. The whole thing was caught on my security cameras. The news station got hold of the footage. It aired Wednesday. Now the story had a new angle. Man arrested after allegedly attacking sister-in-law's home following exposure of child support debt. Public sympathy swung completely in my favor. My employer called Wednesday afternoon. Justine, we've been following the news. We want you to come back to work. We're sorry for how we handled this. You were the victim here. My boss, Margaret, got on the line. We should have stood by you instead of reacting to outside pressure. Will you come back? Yes, I said, relief flooding through me. Thank you. By Thursday, Rachel's GoFundMe had been shut down by the platform for violating their terms of service regarding fraudulent campaigns. She'd have to refund the donations. My parents finally realized they'd lost the battle, lost public opinion, lost any chance of controlling this situation. Friday afternoon, their lawyer called Sarah. They wanted to negotiate a settlement. Sarah and I discussed terms, what I wanted, what was reasonable, what would actually make me whole again. The identity theft charges were still pending. Rachel was facing potential jail time. Tyler's arrest for attacking my house had exposed his child support situation to the authorities, and now he was facing legal action on that front too. But there was a problem. Rachel had 3 kids. Kids who'd done nothing wrong. Kids who were about to watch their mother go to jail and their father face serious legal consequences. My parents called me directly one last time. My mother sounded broken in a way I'd never heard before. Justine, I know we don't deserve your mercy. I know we've done terrible things, but please don't let the kids suffer for our mistakes. You should have thought about them before you started all this. You're right. We should have. We were wrong. About everything. About how we treated you your whole life. About favoring Rachel. About thinking you owed us something just because we're family. About trying to force you to give up what you worked so hard for. We were completely wrong. My father got on the line. For the first time in my life, I heard him apologize. I'm sorry, Justine. I'm truly sorry. We took you for granted. We always have. You were strong, so we leaned on you. You were responsible, so we dumped our problems on you. You were successful, so we felt entitled to your success. It was wrong. All of it was wrong. They offered to pay full restitution for the identity theft. They'd pay all my legal fees. They'd make public apologies on social media. They'd sign a no-contact agreement. In exchange, they begged me to agree to let Rachel plead to a reduced charge, something that wouldn't send her to jail, something that wouldn't destroy her kids' lives. I sat with this for 3 days. 3 days of thinking about those kids. 3 days of thinking about what kind of person I wanted to be. 3 days of weighing justice against mercy. Finally, I called Sarah. I want to negotiate, I said, but I have conditions. The negotiations took 2 weeks. Back and forth between lawyers hammering out details, making sure every term was airtight. My conditions were non-negotiable. 1. Rachel would plead guilty to a misdemeanor instead of a felony. She'd get probation and community service instead of jail time, but she'd have a criminal record. She'd pay restitution over 5 years at a manageable rate. 2. My parents would pay half the restitution immediately, $2,500, and reimburse every penny of my legal fees, which had climbed to nearly $8,000. 3. Rachel and Tyler would complete financial counseling and parenting classes as part of her probation terms. 4. The entire family would sign a legally binding no-contact agreement. They couldn't call me, text me, email me, come to my house, or contact me through third parties. If I wanted contact in the future, I'd initiate it. Breaking this agreement would result in immediate legal action. 5. My parents would post public apologies on all the same social media platforms where they'd slandered me. Specific apologies admitting they'd lied and manipulated the situation. 6. Rachel would take down any remaining GoFundMe posts and donate the remaining funds that hadn't been refunded to a legitimate homeless family charity. In exchange for these terms, I'd write a character reference letter for Rachel to submit to the judge. I'd emphasize that I wanted rehabilitation, not destruction. I'd explain that she had 3 children who needed their mother. I'd also write a letter to Rachel's apartment complex, explaining that the family dispute had been resolved and asking them to reconsider any eviction proceedings. No guarantees, but I'd try. My parents signed immediately. They looked 10 years older than they had 3 months ago, worn down by stress and guilt and the public exposure of who they really were. Rachel cried when she signed. "Thank you," she whispered. "I don't deserve this." "No, you don't," I agreed. "But your kids deserve a chance at a stable life. That's who I'm doing this for, not you." Tyler couldn't look at me. He was facing his own consequences for the child support situation and the assault on my property. That was out of my hands entirely. The settlement was finalized in late November. By December, the money had been transferred. My credit was being cleaned up. The public apologies had been posted. The comments on those apologies were interesting. Some people praised my mercy. Others thought I should have pushed for harsher consequences. But most seemed to understand I'd found a middle ground between justice and compassion. Christmas came and went. I spent it alone by choice, cooking myself a nice dinner and watching movies. It was peaceful, quiet, mine. Rachel's family did find housing. A legitimate, affordable housing program accepted them after Tyler started making payments on his child support and could prove stable employment. They moved into a decent 2-bedroom subsidized apartment in January. I heard about it through my lawyer, not from them directly. The no contact agreement held. My parents sent me a card on my birthday in February. Just a card, not a phone call or visit. It said simply, "We're sorry. We love you. We respect your boundaries." I put it in a drawer. Maybe someday I'd respond. Maybe not. Work went back to normal. Better than normal, actually. Margaret became one of my strongest advocates, perhaps feeling guilty for not supporting me during the worst of it. I got a promotion in March. My house was finally truly mine. I repainted the garage, fixed the broken window, added more security cameras, made it exactly what I wanted. I started dating someone I met through a friend, took it slow, told him the whole story on our 3rd date, ready for him to run. Instead, he said, "Your boundaries are one of the things I admire most about you." That's when I knew I'd found someone worth keeping around. By spring, I could look back on the whole nightmare with a clearer perspective. It had been hell, pure hell, but I'd survived, more than survived. I'd stood up for myself in a way I never had before. I learned that boundaries aren't selfish, they're essential. They're the difference between loving people and letting people destroy you. I learned that family should be based on mutual respect, not obligation and guilt. That blood relation doesn't give anyone the right to violate your autonomy or take what you've earned. I learned that sometimes mercy and justice can coexist. You can hold people accountable while still leaving room for redemption. I learned that standing up for yourself is terrifying and costly, but not as costly as losing yourself. Most importantly, I learned that I'm stronger than I ever knew, strong enough to endure months of harassment and public humiliation, strong enough to fight back when everything seemed hopeless, strong enough to show mercy when I had every right to demand vengeance. My house isn't just a house anymore. It's a symbol of independence, of hard work, of refusing to be controlled, of knowing my own worth. When I sit on my front porch now, drinking my morning coffee, I feel something I never felt growing up in my parents' house. I feel free. The family I was born into taught me what I didn't want to be. Now I'm building the life I actually want, with people who respect me, with boundaries that protect me, with pride in what I've accomplished on my own terms. Rachel's kids are doing okay, from what I understand. They're in school. Tyler's working legitimately now. Rachel finished her probation term successfully. Maybe they learned something from all this. Maybe they didn't. Either way, it's not my responsibility. I drive past my parents' house sometimes. I don't stop. I don't call. The boundary holds, and I'm okay with that. Maybe someday I'll be ready to crack that door open an inch. Maybe I never will. Both options are acceptable. Because here's what I finally understand. I don't owe anyone access to my life just because we share DNA. I don't owe anyone my home, my money, my peace of mind, or my happiness. I don't owe anyone an explanation for protecting what's mine. What I owe is to myself. I owe myself safety, respect, a life built on my own terms. That's not selfish. That's survival. And I'm not just surviving anymore. I'm thriving. My house, my beautiful house that caused so much drama, sits quiet on its tree-lined street. The mortgage gets paid every month. The garden I planted is blooming. The rooms are decorated exactly how I want them. It's mine. All mine. And no one can take that away from me ever again. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to set boundaries with family members who didn't respect them? Have you ever been in a situation where helping someone meant sacrificing too much of yourself? How did you handle it? Leave a comment below and share your story. Your experience might help someone else who's struggling with the same thing. If this story resonated with you, if it made you think about your own boundaries and relationships, please hit that like button. Subscribe to this channel for more real-life stories about everyday people facing extraordinary challenges. And share this with someone who might need to hear it. Someone who's struggling to stand up for themselves against family pressure. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I know it was a long one, but I wanted you to understand the whole journey. From that shocking first moment when I walked into my house to find my family had invaded it, all the way to the peace I've found now. Remember, your life belongs to you. Your home belongs to you. Your boundaries are valid. And you're allowed to protect what you've worked for, even if family doesn't understand. Take care of yourselves out there, and never let anyone make you feel guilty for taking care of you.